Alright, it's time. We can't delay, we can't stall any longer. It's time to get straight into the Titans there. You all are pretty well familiar with how my battleships have been handling, and they've been doing tremendously. Especially my brand new battleship Garalon there with its phaser tech and large amount of shields there to soak up all the damage there. But now we got a new toy to play with. Because right now, we have access to the good old Titan, which is, quite frankly, superior in almost every way, potentially, to what the battleship can be. Just look at those slots. It is massive in comparison there. I think it's like easily 50% more space on the top there, or the frontal quadrant, and it's definitely quite noticeably bigger on the sides there. And even the engines is even bigger, which means this thing's gonna be cruising. If you've seen how my Hercules Beetles have been, this thing's gonna put that to shame, I think. We'll have to know in time, mind you, but this is a wondrous opportunity, and I am not gonna pass this up, because so far we already got 2 Titan concepts already set up here. Meet the Locust and the Swarm. Although neither of them are actually built just yet. But once this recording's all done, we're gonna have 2 beastly Titans that we're gonna have to try and figure out how the hell we're gonna build, because they're gonna be expensive as hell. So let's get started, shall we? Ideally, my concept that I have here is Locust. Obviously, is gonna be the harbinger of death. It's gonna be equipped with nothing but weapons of practically every kind, or at least the most powerful weapons I can put on it. You remember the Garalon there with all its phasers? Think something like that, where it potentially could be an all phaser based type of Titan. So that's going to be pretty beastly. While the Swarm, on the other hand, kind of in contradiction to what I've been doing with my carrier drone ships there, since I kind of retired them due to the fact that they've been hitting my frame rate so much. That and the cluster cannons and air weapons similar of that concept. The Swarm is going to be entirely focused on fighters, particularly the heavy fighters, I believe, considering if the slots allow for it or not. So I'm almost going to make this entirely a drone ship. So Locust is going to be the killer, Swarm is going to overwhelm. And with this, we're going to have the twin Titans that are pretty much going to single-handedly destroy everything in their way. So let's get started. Obviously, I like the potential that the phasers have had, so I want to try to incorporate them, but we're going to have to do a lot of testing, so these videos are going to take a tremendous amount of time to get till we're finally comfortable with the Titans. So I'm going to start off with a couple antimatter reactors here to kind of at least power the engines that we're about to throw on, since we have a lot of space for these engines. Jesus Christ. Just have a look at all those engines. We got 6, basically the huge, largest type of engines we can get. That's going to give us a tremendous amount of speed, and we got room for even more engines. So long as I'm mindful about the enemies piercing through the shields, this thing is gonna be cruising. And there's no way you can stop it, I think. Only thing that can slow this down is if I upgrade my weaponry a little bit too much that actually bogs down the weight quite heavily. But I don't think I'm really concerned about that. This thing's gonna cruise. It's gonna be fast. The real question is if it's gonna be how much faster it's going to be, rather, to my battleships that I had so far. So, main engineering is almost a must, considering, well, actually, yeah, this is Locust, so actually, main engineering actually be pretty handy here, I would believe. So that's going to work out well in that regard. I'm going to save the capacitor shields for these side quadrants pretty much, because I don't really need them in the middle. I'm just going to use that for the regular shields. So that's making an easy way to encompass the entire ship, so that way not a single shield generator is basically wasted in that sense. Since the shield capacitors are definitely going to be on here regardless, so I think it's more efficient just to throw the shield generators in the middle and then use the capacitors for anything on the outside that I would probably use essentially for basically just the shields in general. So I don't know how many is ideal, but then again we're thinking of this is pretty much the same size as a battleship. That's the one thing. So it's not necessarily going to be more durable if all my defensive components are going to be in the middle here. So I definitely need to throw more on these sides to help bolster it that much more. So I am going to have to keep a sharp eye on how the durability is in comparison to my Hercules Beetles. Because if I start neglecting that, this thing will be... It's still going to be durable as hell, mind you. It's just not going to be that much more durable for something its size. And I think we're good for shields for now. Basically all these slots are primarily going to be for power capacitors and probably more reactors since we have the room to spare for it. Then let's get to the weapons, shall we? I am just wondering if I want antimatter cannons at all. I am honestly thinking I should not, to be perfectly honest, because considering they're like only a single shot weapon there, and they kind of really slow as terms of actually hitting targets that I would like, I probably don't want to rely on them. Because I want constant fire, constant hitting, constant destruction. All at all times, pretty much. So we're going to have a lot of weapons to play with. And I don't think the antimatter cannon fits what I'm looking for. Which is a bit unfortunate because those things pack a serious punch. It's really hard to say though if these phasers are superior to them. Because it says 600 damage on there, but is that what? 600 damage a second, or is that for the full channel? Because obviously, 600 damage pales in comparison to the whopping 5,000 that these spinals can do, or even the 2,000 of these regular ones, antimatter cannons, because the rate of fire is the same, but the antimatter cannon straight up does more damage. Less range, mind you, so... The only reason, arguably, I would like the phasers is because they have been performing brilliantly for me so far, aside for the massive power demands, and the fact that they have perfect precision, so they're always going to hit their targets. I just wish a little bit that there was an easier way to have it, like, spread their fire out so they're not overkilling, like, corvettes or frigates, essentially. Like, I would love to have 3 phasers focused on one target, these 4 on another kind of thing, and have like scatter fire for like weaker targets, rather than have the massive overkill these phasers would potentially do. Well, not a whole lot I can do about that, unfortunately. And obviously, do I want flak? Actually, I think I can trust Swarm to be my flak carrier, to be honest, because it's going to be relying on its heavy fighters essentially to do the damage, so it's going to be its auxiliary weapons or leftover space is going to be dedicated to point defense, so I think I'll leave Swarm to be the point defense ship. So obviously I could probably throw a lot more phasers in there. In fact, before I forget, let me throw capacitor shields on. Or canopy shields. I keep calling them capacitor shields. Well, yeah, I was thinking of the capacitor like there's like an energy resource some here. Is it power? No, it's not power capacitors. I don't even think I have it. Shield capacitors, that's what I'm thinking of. And I don't think I have actually researched, so that was probably what I was thinking of when I keep saying capacitors. So I apologize for that. So the big question is, do I want a third canopy shield or not? Because my Hercules Beetle currently have 2 as well. Or actually, I'm mistaken. I think it's my Thorn Beetles that have 2 canopy shields, so that straight makes it... Ooh, excuse me. I have a bit of gas here, so I apologize for my abrupt pauses there. It's going to be hard to kind of let everyone know there. But I lost track of what I was saying, so... I was talking about the canopy shields, but I'm going to leave them... I think 2 is good for now. I'm going to throw in more phasers. I don't know how many is good And I don't want to switch to my Beetle there. Well, I could save it right now and then just check, just for comparison. What is my Garalon at in phasers? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 on each side, so that's a good reference point to keep in mind. So I want to have at least the same amount of phasers, but it benefits with having more laser batteries. So I think that works out well. So if I can throw in 4 more on each side, plus it's going to have a crap ton more on the front, so it's easily going to be more powerful just in phaser weaponry. I just need to find a good healthy balance of these laser batteries here, because I'm going to have plenty of them to throw around. Just leave a little bit of room for the phasers and we are golden. So this basically gives me the slots I need for my remaining phasers there, and then I can fill out the rest with point defense, like the point defense type of laser batteries. Oh wait, I'm not. That's not actually entirely true, to be honest, because I still need to put the capacitors on as well for the phasers or the beam weaponry. So I may have to cut a little bit of space out. I didn't think about the capacitors. What is it? The high energy focus and whatever the particle capacitor. Do I want the particle capacitor? Because I'm only going to have fit one on there probably. Actually, I can replace these laser batteries with them. That'll work out nicely. And then just fill the rest with phasers, because I got a large number of these dual laser cannons, so they're going to do perfectly as far as like the laser battery. And I got enough point defense here, although it is kind of awkward positioning there, so hopefully that doesn't hinder its ability to shoot down missiles and that very well in fighters. So that's the left quadrant done. The right one's easily going to be finished up in a moment. I'm just going to make sure I put the right phasers on. And then as we get this tested out, we can find out how much I can upgrade it. Upgrade all these phasers with rapid fire and all that. Oh! And somehow I snuck a laser cannon here with the phasers, so we do not want that. I don't not need some rogue laser cannons high in my loadout. Thank you very much. So I just need the high energy focus for the fall off, because that is pretty convenient to have, especially when you're relying so much on the phasers like I am right now, because it impacts every single one of them. Whereas the particle capacitors, maybe not so much, but it does reduce the rate of fire, which to help killing smaller ships, that is tremendous. It's just heavier energy drain, so I do need to watch that as I am testing it. And again, I lost track of what I was doing. Oh yeah, I remember now. I want to find the laser batteries to fill it with the point defense. Silly me. Huh. There's something interesting. Apparently there's a slight difference on each of the quadrants. Only one hex, mind you, or one square. But that's kind of weird. You're not going to unsee that now, because otherwise there would have been a spot right here. A weird bug maybe? I'm not sure, to be honest. That is going to stick out though, like a sore thumb if you're that kind of person that really likes the consistency of things. So what is next? Well, obviously the front is pretty much the same thing. I just haven't been touching too much on the weapons for it just yet. So how do I want to do weapons? Do I just throw them in the back, throw them in the front, or what? Because this front here is practically begging for more dual lasers, it looks like. So let's see how many phasers I can sneak in back here. Actually, it doesn't even out, so there we go. So that's 6, and that will easily give me 12, which is more than enough phasers, I think, for the front. And that's a good start to that. We'll get the fallout and the particle capacitors we need for that. Where can I throw it though? high energy focus, and if I get room for it later, I'll throw another particle capacitor on there. But lasers, and more lasers. Let's see how this works out. Throw that in, and I could throw a crap ton more of these dual lasers on here, which would be kind of ridiculous. I don't know if I want to do that or not, quite frankly. And I don't think I want the spinals at all. I kind of need these weapons to have really good arc for being able to hit things of all angles, which is kind of what I'm going to need. But if anything, I should be extending these arcs right now, because that's almost going to be a must. I kind of need them to have that arc, quite frankly. So I'll update that as we finish it up. Actually, I should probably just do it right now. Be a bit repetitive, but it will solve a lot of issues down the road. So long as I get the laser turrets fit out in the right place. Because the last thing I need is to have to rebuild everything, especially if I misclick there. Like, one poor misclick could accidentally get rid of all 4 of these weapons. Then we're just killing time. And now the dual lasers with the arc. Because that is obviously, like I said, I need... there's no question that I'm going to put the arc extend on these things. It's just I just don't know if I want the rapid fire or the overload or anything like that boosts these weapons further. So, we still got plenty of energy, but obviously that energy is clearly not going to be enough for the demands we're going to face. So, we're going to need a lot more power, and we're going to need the capacitors to handle that power too. So, that is a good amount of energy there. I think that's more than enough energy. Again, I need to compare with my Garalon to really see how the power levels are, because this is going to eat up a lot more power just because it has more laser batteries as well as more phasers. And I need the power capacitors to at least be able to handle it. So I think that is fair enough power there. What else can I throw on? Is there anything else I want to throw on? I know there's a sick bay, which I think I'll pass. There's no ammunition to rely on the ordnance fabricator. Targeting computer is almost a must, considering that I do need that boost. So I could throw 2 target computers on there, and that will help accuracy quite a bit. Especially since they're not going to be max level and they're not going to have their metals kind of boost their potential either. And what does that leave us? I think that's almost filled out there. It's just a matter of getting the power capacitors in. Or actually, I need to point defense lasers in the front and then fill out the rest with some power capacitors. So that way we have plenty of energy, and if it's too much, then I can just cut it out and throw more point defense lasers at least. At the very least, this front area is going to be all point defense lasers, and that the back little section here is going to be whatever power capacitors I could throw in. So, last but not least, the power capacitors. Fill it out. And so completes our Locust. Oops. Ah, crap.